Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Waller's Wallet, and today it's story time on how my wife and I paid off over $300,000 in student loan debt in just 5 years. And I'll share some tips as well as how you can help pay yours off faster if you're looking to do that. Now, if you want a simple way to help out the channel, consider hitting that thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn that bell notification on as well so you don't miss out on future videos. Now, both my wife and I, we went to grad school. We both went to pharmacy school and graduated. And when I graduated pharmacy school, I had about $175,000 in student loan debt. And when my wife graduated just a few years after I did, she graduated with about $120,000 in student loan debt. Now, I had more student loan debt than my wife because I took out about $40,000 extra for living expenses my last 2 years of pharmacy school. Since I wasn't working at the time, it's what I needed to get through to pay my normal bills like rent and whatnot. And after graduating, my minimum student loan payment was $2,000 per month on a standard 10-year repayment plan. Also, let me know in the comments how much you owe in student loan debt if you're someone who does have student loans. And this was just so discouraging as well because I would pay $2,000 a month for my payment, then $1,000 of interest would accrue. So it's always like I was going 2 steps forward, then 1 step back, and I felt like I could never really get ahead on these payments. Now, at one point when my wife was in pharmacy school, the grad loan interest rates had dropped to about half the interest rate of some of my other grad loans. So what we actually did is we almost did like a backdoor refinancing of one of my loans because we had her take out the full loan amount, which I think was about 4.5% at the time. And we actually paid off 1 or 2 of my loans with it. And by doing this, it lowered the interest rate on those payments I was making and would also save us money overall. And for that time period, it also reduced my minimum payment to where we could put extra money towards the other loans. Then after my wife graduated pharmacy school, our minimum loan payment per month for the both of us was just about $4,000 per month. But we put as much money as we could into them. And I would joke with people that we would still live like broke college kids because we would put more money towards our loans because we just didn't spend a lot of money outside of paying off our loans. Now in this time frame, we did buy a house instead of choosing to rent since the monthly cost was about the same, but it was an asset for us, which we later sold that house and made enough money on it to use the money to pay for the house we currently live in now. In our first house that we bought below our means, which means we didn't spend big money on a house because paying off our student loans was our top priority. And even when we moved to Maine, we were still paying off student loan debt. And because that was such a top priority for us, we again bought a house that wouldn't make us house poor and it let us keep making more payments on our student loans. Plus, we also liked the house we decided on. And we were so committed to paying off our student loans that we left multiple rooms in our house for a solid 1.5 or 2 years completely empty so we could put more money towards our loans because buying furniture just wasn't a priority for us. Now, our strategy for loan repayment was to always go after the loan with the highest interest rate first, essentially using that debt avalanche method and putting more money towards the principal each month on the loan with the highest interest rate. And the exception here would be when certain loan balances reached a really low balance, we would just pay off that loan entirely. Then we would put the money we were putting towards that smaller loan towards the larger loan with the highest interest rate. And after a while, we did decide to refinance our student loans because the interest rates would drop enough to where refinancing our loans made plenty of financial sense for us. And when we did refinance our loans, we did refinance with SoFi since their loan rates were very good and it cut our rate substantially. But there are plenty of other lenders out there, so be sure to compare rates if you're thinking of doing this. Now, I actually don't always advocate for people to refinance their student loans because when you choose to refinance your government loans to a private loan, you lose protections those government loans may have had, so you do want to be aware of that. And for us, we didn't really worry about that. We both had high paying jobs, and even if one of us lost our jobs by some chance, the other made enough money that we could continue making the minimum payment on our student loans, but really nothing extra towards them. But you do want to look at the pros and cons of this because it can be good and bad depending on your situation. And throughout the entire process of paying off our student loans, we kept ourselves on a tight budget. And we would really put every dollar we had extra towards those loans, and the numbers slowly started to fall. And we even had a dry erase board in our dining room with our loan amounts on it, and every month we would update it to see our progress. Now, once we did refinance our student loans, we focused on one of our loans in its entirety to get rid of that payment. I actually think we focused on my loan first, and that took about 3 years to pay off completely. And once we paid off that loan, we put everything that we were putting towards that one loan towards the other loan to pay it off even faster. And we actually had a really crazy work year to where we made more money than we were expecting. And in the last year, we paid an extra $50,000 towards our loans that year, and that completely paid off the rest of our student loans. Now, during the time of paying off our loans, we did learn some things along the way. It takes a lot of sacrifices and commitment, but here are 5 tips to help you out. Number 1, make a budget and stick to it. If you're really wanting to pay off your loans faster, you need to know where all your money is going. And by having a budget, you'll be able to see and account for all your necessities and really the things that you want. Then you'll be able to adjust it from there to save more money and put that money towards your loans. For example, my wife constantly made tons of freezer meals, and she'd make all these meals and put them in the freezer, and then we would pull them out of the freezer and eat on them for weeks. And she even would calculate the price of each meal. And she would get some of these down to be between $2 to $3 per meal, which was far cheaper than dining out or even buying pre-made frozen meals, and then would eat on these for a few days as well. And I'm not saying you shouldn't spend money on things that you enjoy, but you definitely want to keep this in check, especially if paying off your student loans is the goal here. But keeping yourself on a tighter budget will give you more money to put towards those loans. And that might mean looking for more free activities to do things with friends as opposed to going dining out and eating or just going out drinking with them. Tip number 2, start paying your loans in that grace period. Now, when you graduate, there's that 6-month grace period where you don't need to make any student loan payments at all, which you might need this time to get your life in order and situated. And you don't have to make payments here, but you can start making payments right away if you want to. You do not have to wait until that 6-month grace period is up. And if you can afford to do this, absolutely pay towards your loans at this time, because the interest that accrues in your grace period will be added to your principal, and that will accrue interest as well. So if you can start paying as soon as you can, this will only help you even when that grace period is up. Even if you can only afford to pay a small amount at a time, this will definitely help you. Tip number 3, don't make any big purchases during this grace period. Now, when you graduate and you're working, life's great during this time period. You're making money, probably more money than you've ever made in your entire life. But it's deceiving because you don't have those loan payments yet, so you don't fully realize what your financial situation is going to look like. And even if you're someone paying during the grace period, that's a choice you have. Because if something comes up, you can always redirect funds to where you need it. Because you may not have enough disposable income later on to redirect when you're required to pay back your loans. For example, if you go out and buy yourself a new car once you graduate, will you be able to afford the loan on that car payment when your student loan payments come due? And that's really going to vary based on each person and their financial situation. So waiting until your loan payments are due before you start making larger purchases will make sure you can actually afford them and could be very helpful for you here. And I actually remember being told about a person I knew who had graduated from grad school, was making a 6-figure salary, bought themselves a high-end car right after graduating, and actually had to get a second job to make the payments on the car because they overestimated how much money they actually had to spend and overextended themselves. So don't do that to yourself. Tip number 4, give yourself little rewards along the way. Now, this may sound silly for some of you out there, but if you're paying on student loan debt, it can seem like it is never going to end. And I get it. It doesn't matter if you have $25,000 in loans or $300,000 in loan. It is a long, grueling road to pay these off, and it can be discouraging and even at times depressing. But set goals for yourself. When you hit these goals, don't forget to reward yourself. I mean, it could be something as small as just going out and buying yourself an ice cream or buying yourself something you've had your eye on for a while. But those rewards are important and let you know that you're on your way and can help keep you motivated. Just don't get yourself in debt for these rewards. And again, they should be small rewards to let you know you're making progress. And tip number 5, only take out what you need. Now, it can be quite intriguing or tempting to take out more money if a school is going to allow you to do that. Especially if you're 18 years old, fresh out of high school, it can seem like this is going to make your life easier. But remember, these are loans. It's not free money. And my wife and I have both known people to take out extra loans to buy clothes or go on a vacation or just to hold on to. But you should take a look and understand how much you're going to need and only take that much, and then actually look for ways to reduce this. Because while the number of scholarships, it can be limiting for grad school, at least for pharmacy school it was, for undergrad, there are so many opportunities for scholarships to help reduce the amount of student loans you're going to need to take out. I mean, my wife actually had enough scholarships at the end of her undergrad degree. When she graduated, she had no student loan debt, and the school actually paid her at the end of it. And when people ask her about this, she's always told people to look out for smaller, local options for scholarships because they offer plenty of scholarship opportunities, and there could be less competition for these instead of going after the one scholarship that's $20,000 that everyone is trying for. Because your odds are going to be better for the smaller ones compared to the larger ones. And even if the smaller scholarships are only $250 or let's say $500, if it takes you 2 hours to write the essay and you got that scholarship, that's like getting an hourly rate of $125 or $250, which is a great hourly rate. But by taking out only what you need, this will really reduce what you need to pay back overall. Now, my wife and I were quite extreme when it came to paying off our student loans because we just hated having them over our heads. And at times, it can feel quite depressing or make you feel very anxious that they're never gonna go away. And while not everyone has the amount of student loan debt we had, it does not mean your loans are not affecting your life. But if you can stay focused and really make it a priority to pay off your loans, then that burden will be gone, and I can tell you, it feels great not to have student loans in your life anymore. So tell me, what tips do you have for someone looking to pay off their student loans faster? Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in this video. If you want to help support the channel, take a look at the links down in the description below. And if you know somebody that could benefit from this video, feel free to share it with them. Until next time, safe travel and take care.